Hey Forza heads, back with another tuning guide for you. So, and with the update for update 10, so they've now split the GT class into GT2s, GT3s and GT4s, and GT4s coming soon, which I presume will be week 3 because we started on GT2s. GT3s will probably be next week, and then I imagine the update including the GT4s will be on week 3 because I think next week we'll also be getting the Spotlight, the new Spotlight car, which will be the Evo 3 Mitsubishi. I think that'll probably come next week as well because that'll be the rally series that will be on there. So if people are waiting for that, that is where it is going to come from. So we're going to jump in, we're going to tune the Ferrari now. This seems to be in the GT2 class. When I've been in and had a look online, I think you've got the Ferrari, the Corvette, the Ford, the BMW M8 and the BMW M6. I think there's only 5 or 6 cars. I think it was another one. But yeah, so the Ferrari is one of the GT2s, the Lamborghini and that isn't. And other cars. Oh, there's a couple of Porsches. 2 of the Porsches are there as well. So 2 of the 911s are there. I think the newer 2 are both there as GT2s. So yeah, we're going to tune the Ferrari now though, because we've had a community request to tune the Ferrari, the Lamborghini, the Corvette. Ferrari and Lamborghini are probably going to be similar because they suffer with similar problems. The Lamborghini is probably just slightly worse, maybe. And then we're going to do tune the Corvette. I think it was a Trans Am number or the 2018 one. I think that's right. I'll have to double check. But I've just had a really busy month, so just trying to get stuff out there for you at the same time. It's just been hard work, so we're going to jump in and do this one now. So at the moment we are sitting with the standard tune. So when I did start to do this video yesterday and I was on Kilomi, I think the tyre pressures were on 32, they're 30 and 34, so they have changed now that we're on Magello, so that might be to do with track temperature or something like that. But the tune is standard at the moment. And the car, let's just, we're 25% and we're soft tyres, Delta 151 1. So we'll give it a quick tune, a quick go, and we'll see what it suffers with and how to fix it. You can see the back's loose straight away because it wants to kind of direct the car off of the wheel spin. It wants to pull you even when you're in a straight line on a fairly flat piece of tarmac. It wants to pull you off. So the inherent problem you have with this car generally is that it's not too fast or tight on the bend. It's not too bad, look. But you can see the back wants to wash out a bit. If you're aggressive with it, it'll want to wash out more. Generally, to be smooth in cars like this, you've just got to be smooth with the throttle, like this. Gears are probably a little long. Tyres are probably a little hard, especially on the rear. It's just got weird behaviour about it because you kind of want to turn in, but then it kind of wants to not turn in straight away. If you give it a moment, you can sort of find that line. Look, if we slow down into suspending 4th gear and then get around, you'll see the nose will just drop in there. And again here, look. There. Once you get to a certain point, just feel the nose just tweaking a little bit. And that's generally when you can get back on the power. So we'll roll round. Like I say, you know, you can kind of get on with these tunes as long as you drive them smooth. Generally the gearing is quite long, so it makes it a little bit easier as well. We'll be shortening that to make it a little bit more aggressive. Once you get the corner, that's when it starts to suffer with the understeer, which is mainly set by the roll bars. The roll bars on this are set for understeer, and that's where, once you do slow down enough to be able to get the power on the back wheels, it does start squaring the car off a little bit. The front starts to wash out. You see here, you get to do it. So get round. See, one or two ways. Apply the power and the back loses slightly. Or look, apply the power and it squares off away from the bend, away from the apex. Look. So what we're ultimately going to do first is we're going to control this back end. And stop it from being so wild and slippery. So let's throw it in. With the long gears, like I say, it's not too bad. Look, there goes, look. You get to the point in which you think you're inside and then it just runs wide. What we should do is maybe see what lap time we can quickly get. And then we'll adjust it. It kind of takes a wide entrance into a bend, like feels like it takes a lot to get it in at the beginning. Just an early shift off the hill there. Definitely not a great time. Would have said the delta was 151, so we'll see how close we can get to the 151 then. It's just hard to be consistent with it in a sense, because you want to try and roll it in on the normal line. The second you go down the gear, it sort of turns too tight. The damping is probably a little bit soft, so you can probably get more of a kick off the curbs than we want in a car like this. So we're probably going to stiffen the damping as well. Back end getting a little bit washy there. Kept it nice over the curb. Um, 50, 51, 52, 52.4. So to be fair, not far off the delta. It's not a bad lap time. So what we'll do now is we're going to tune it. We'll drop the tyre pressure down by a couple of psi on each. Well, 4 psi on the back. 5. So we're going to go 26 and 27. So that's going to keep a bit of rotation, but we're going to probably gain a little bit of extra grip from the rear. We are going to knock the gearing down to something like this. So go 45, so we get a short first gear, second gear 75, third gear, so we've got 45 mile an hour, then a 30 mile an hour difference, then a 25 mile an hour difference, then a 20 mile an hour difference, followed by 20, followed by 20. So that's where we're going to set them up for now. Pretty nice, gradual, easy way to do your gears for this class. It still says we can achieve a 181, so we could probably gear it down a little bit more, but hopefully it still makes use of the torque. Now, see the anti-roll bars, this is where we set up for understeer. Spring rates are set up for oversteer. Bump stiffness and dampening is probably slightly oversteer, not that you get much oversteer effect off these, it's more about the speed in which you can get over the curbs. This is how quick your suspension compresses, and it's now this is how quick your suspension reloads. So it's all about the timing of the bounce, so how fast you go over a curb. You know, if you're in a C-class car and you're going over a curb and it's fa-dump, you're going to get less, you need, you know, less bump stiffness. But if you're in a GT car and you're doing 130 mile an hour over the curb and you're going fa-dump, then you're going to need a quicker response from your tyres to make you maintain the contact with the road. You know, if your tyres are coming down and your car's landing at a different time, you're going to almost get like a wheel slap effect. And this time on the suspension is still you know, coming out when you're trying to then preload it back in with the next impact. So yeah, generally we're going to run these stiffer. These are set neutral. Nice bit of anti-dive, nice bit of anti-squat. Quite rare to see this much, I suppose, on a, I haven't really checked out, I've checked out GT cars, can't remember what they started on, but there's been a lot of buffing and nerfing going on these cars, so I don't know if all the settings are all the same as what they would have been before. But so it's just, with suspension geometry, with the roller centre off height offset, you basically, if you increase this, you'll get more response from the front axle. You'll be quicker left to right, it will turn in sharper, but it's kind of a smooth way of applying a bit of extra turning. It's fairly useful, to be fair. I'll show you this in a minute. And then the rear is the same. If you apply this, it'd be more loose on the rear end, especially if you didn't apply any front. You know, if you applied both and applied more to the front, you're going to get more agility, but you are also going to get more stability there than you did down here, because of the offset between the front being higher than the rear. Yeah, it's just going to make the front play better than the rear, so in a sense it's going to give you control. So that then will allow you to throw a bit more rotation through things like the roll bars, which is where you really want to develop your most amount of rotation, because this is what will make a corner smoother, is how far higher than the front you can have this. That's positive rotation. Like that would be increased rotation as you turn into a corner and you're loading up on a corner. So you're turning right, so your left wheels load up with the weight. As the weight transitions to the left, by being harder on the front, the weight is going to hit the front left tyre first before it hits the rear right tyre, rear left tyre. If you have them the other way around, so that's going to create understeer and a bit of washout in your corner. If you have it on rotation, your back is. Now that's going to create oversteer. Now oversteer is easier to control, it just requires a bit more finesse with the throttle. Understeer in a rear wheel drive car is harder to control, because basically it requires you to slow down. Whereas oversteer doesn't always require you to slow down. You can just sometimes ride out of it, just a little bit of finesse on the throttle. Sometimes you can just give that bit of squirt throttle and get a little bit of slip off the wheels, and it helps get the front end in a little bit, and then you can just come off slightly and then get back on, find the grip. You know, it's all about teaching yourself to be smooth with the controls, but we'll leave where it is for now, because we're just going to try and eliminate the loose back end without changing too much, just to show you how we will do it. So a differential as well, so that's just allowing controls. Probably why you get a bit, the lower you run this down, the less wheel spin you'll be allowed, the more bogginess you'll have on the start. The higher you run at, the better start you'll probably have, the more wheel spin you'll probably get, but you will launch with full power. And the deceleration, this controls your entrance to the bend and your high speed braking zone. So if you're getting a squirm under high speed braking, or you're throwing it into a corner and you're becoming loose on the rear end, then you would turn this deceleration diff up. But you'd never have this up on a front wheel drive car, and to be honest, I'd never have it up on a four wheel drive car. On lower classes I wouldn't have it up on a rear wheel drive car, but in GT class it's going to be advisory to run a bit of rear diff. So what did we change? So we changed the tyres pressure and we've changed the gearing. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to increase the toe on the rear first, and that is what is going to make that rear end behave itself for a second without changing anything else. We haven't changed no aero, we haven't changed anything else, we're all at the same. And then we've just done tyre pressures, gearing, with tyre pressures, gearing, anti-roll bars are the same. Oh, we've done the toe, we've done the alignment, we've done the toe, right. So let's go and give that a quick go. See, it's behaving itself better. straight away I can make more use of the front end, and we haven't even had to change anything apart from the toe and the tyre grip. Gearing's obviously giving us a bit better pull, but look, even with a lower gear, that little bit of toe, not only has it controlled the back, but it's made the front of the car more useful. You see? Because the back's not trying to wash out too early. But all we've essentially had to do was change the rear toe there. Oh. The only negative part of the rear toe there is you might, especially on high sausage curbs, if you try and ride them, you'll get a bit of a kick off it. Not all the time, you can still ride curbs, and we'll set up the dampening in a minute to make that easier. Here we go. You can see the back is so much more stable. Almost going to cut that corner there, because again, the front can be more responsive because the back doesn't want to wash out. We'll do 10.6, 10.8. Right, we'll go for a lap and we'll see if we've lost any time. Because like I say, we haven't created any extra rotation, so at the moment we've probably sacrificed rotation for rear stability. It's not a problem because we can get the rotation back in a minute. Let's just see. Broke a bit late. Use all the road. You see how much that's just changed the behaviour of the car, and that's all we've done. A bit of tyre, took the tyre temperature down, or took the tyre pressure down, added a bit of toe, and we've improved the gearing. But the main handling characteristics have just come from the softer tyre pressure and a little bit more inward rear toe. Because what that's doing is it's pointing the insides of the wheels, the fronts of the rear wheels, towards each other. So essentially the back of the car is driving into itself, so it creates more stability. I'm not sure Forza's got it the right way round, don't shoot me for that, but this is the way it works on Forza. Even with a washout, look, easier to control. Lost a bit of time there. Let's see if we can gain a little bit around here. We were closer. So we've probably lost half a second for now. There, we haven't lost half a second. We have, but we could probably get that back. Probably wasn't the world's best lap, but so we're there or thereabouts. But what we've done is, like I say, we have increased the stability of the car. Look, even if they go wide. You can see that the car is more stable. So what we'll do now we're going to get the rotation back. So first off, we're going to apply a tiniest bit of front toe out, sorry. That's going to give us a slight bit more response from the front end. So doing toe in will take the response away, so it'll give you a slower turning, same as the rear. It'll give you a slower rear end action in a sense, and giving it a click out will give you a slightly quicker turning as you transition from, you know, straight to turning left or turning right, or you go from right to turning left or left to turning right. You will get a quicker response from the wheels because it's already a degree over in the right direction. So that is where we are, or 0.1. Anti-roll bars, what we'll do is we'll stiffen this up to 40. We'll stiffen this up for now. In fact, I'm going to drop that down to 35. It's going to give us again, more agility left to right, because again, if you get a car and you unsettle it by going left and right up the straight, and you see the wallow of the car as it rolls to the left and it rolls to the right, as it rolls around, the time it takes for the car to load up the full weight from the left tyre over to the right tyre and from the right tyre over to the left tyre is increased. The softer you have it. The harder you have it, the quicker the transition speed between turning left and right is going to be. Don't get me wrong, there's going to be a finite point for control. You know, if you throw the weights and limits at the car too hard and it reaches the tyre too quickly while you're still carrying too much momentum, that's what's going to kick you into a slide. So you need to be smooth with it at the same time. But the stiffer you go with this, the more agility you will have going from left to right. But at the same time, on something hard and slippery, it's not always the way to go. So you can, again, just soften this down. We'll try it up hard first because it'll give us a transition speed. And then what we're going to do to counteract it now is we are going to run the front springs a little bit stiffer than the rear. And where we've thrown the anti-roll bar into an oversteer, we've taken the suspension from an oversteer to an understeer. You see, so that's going to help counteract it. It's going to give us a slightly softer rear end. So as you do throw into a car, if you are at the limits, hopefully your rear is just going to be a little bit softer, not enough to adjust the control of the car as it goes through bends and transitions, but enough just to give you that finite bit of extra control. Same as like in a front wheel drive car, if you actually run a higher rear camber, it gives you less chance of getting a bit of snap oversteer. You know, it gives you more control. It's a similar effect. So you're just allowing more limit on the rear than you are on the front, in a sense. You've been more forgiving with the rear than you are with the front. So that's going to go against the fact that here we've been more forgiving with the front than we are the rear. So the rear is going to be the one that oversteers. Here, this would create a front end understeer. So yeah, and then with the ride height, we're going to click it up one notch on the rear ride height, and that's going to help us with rotation, help us with the stance of the car, help us with the braking. It helps in a few ways, and it's just one click. So it just takes us into it's still running negative rake there, but this would be positive rake where you have the back higher than the front. This would be negative rake. So to be fair, we can try it with a positive rake. Why not? We'll give it a go, see if it changes too much. I think it will. Now damping, we said this is probably too soft, especially as we've got the wheels with a little bit of toe now. We're going to want to make sure that they are connecting with the curbs and the road as we plough over them as quick as possible, as quick as we need them to. So 6.0 and 5.8 plus 50% will give you these two numbers. So 6.0 plus 50%, which is 3.0, will give you 9. 5.8 plus 50% is 2.9. That will give you 8.7. So 2.9 onto 5.8 will give you 8.7. So yeah, and then roll centre offside. So again, we're going to just increase this to give us a little bit of rolling, and we're going to increase this, but we're going to run it less than the front. So this again is going to give us, it's going to give us more action on both axles, but it's going to give the front more than the back now. So it's going to again create a little bit of stability for us. Anti-squat's fine. Anti-dive we're going to run up because I would generally want it probably, I'll probably want my anti-squat to be a third of my anti-dive generally. Again, this just helps with the transitions, and it helps with a bit of element of control while you throw more aggressive roll bar setups and things at it, and geometry. So this should just help with control. So this would just help you from nose diving under brakes. And if you're like, racing in a pack and you get people who aren't used to using the lines, and someone comes and pulls in front of you just as you're braking or coming off the brakes, you have to go back on the brakes. This just makes that a bit smoother because you're not coming off the brakes, loading up you're not swinging backwards and forwards as you apply off of the throttle onto the brake. You're not, because that in turn is what can, harm your tyres and take load off the tyres. Yeah, so the geometry aero we're going to put up at the front, and we're going to add a bit of rear. So that again is going to give us a little bit of oversteer, but in turn it's going to give us more grip overall than we had, but it's going to give us more oversteer than we had. So it's going to be a compromise. We're going to see if we need to add any more rear to it, or perhaps take some front off. It depends if you're on a fast track or a grippy track. If the more grippier the track is, the more you're going to want to probably add to the rear. The more faster a track is, the more you probably just subtract from the front to create the same effect, more control. So again, the closer these together, more control. Even more control would be to have this one lower, but you get into understeer territory. Here you're in oversteer territory, and it's just how much oversteer you can take. And generally, that's where you want to be, is up to the point in which the most amount of oversteer you can take. That's what you're trying to do. Create rotation, 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 rotation is what it's all about. Brake wise, we are going to put the brakes to the rear, and we're going to put it up to 130% again, because this just helps with trail braking. So, you know, if you're someone who just rams the brakes on, I've said this before, if you're someone who rams brakes on at the end of the braking zone, side by side with someone, all you want to do is brake late and hard and full on until the very end of the braking zone, then you're going to want to run this down at about 90%, you know, maybe even down to the 80s. I mean, if you look yourself, so we're on 210 feet there. We go down 211, we go up 209, so you can find your sweet spot, 209.0. So you can find your sweet spot, and you'll probably be there or thereabouts, and you'll get less brake fade if you use the brakes like that, by having the brakes less than 100%, because you'll never in a sense be maxing them out. You'll always be getting enough grip, because, you know, without, if you were running no ABS, you'd be doing probably using 80% of the brake trigger to control the brake, so you're not going to get full pressure, you're going to get about 80%. So that's how you need to think. You only really need about 80% of the pressure to do all the stopping. Everything else is excess. So if you're king of the late brakers, then you're going to want to run lower pressure. If you want to trail brake or teach yourself how to trail brake, then you're going to want to run higher pressures, because that in turn will give you a lot quicker response straight away. The grab on the brakes and the dive down, it allows you to brake twice into a bend, you know, maybe even 3 times. You can brake and scrub a little bit of speed, roll up on your opponent, and then brake again, and then trail brake through the bend. It just gives you more control. But if you're going to go into a bend and be the king of the late brakers, then, and hold the brake on like from 180 mile an hour like we are at Mugello here at the end, then at 130, if you hold the brake for the whole zone, you probably will get brake fade at the end of the corner, and you'll just run to the further side of the track and wondering why you missed the apex. And it's because high brake pressure is for people who know how to trail brake, low brake pressure is for people who just want a hard brake. So just bear that in mind, you know, learn how to brake with the brake pressure you've got or want. But this is ideally how I generally set most of my cars up. 47 to the back, 47 to the front, 53 to the back, and then 130 pressure. The differential, I'm probably going to apply a little bit more wheel spin, a little bit more power off the get-go. Probably go 65, and then we'll knock that down to 10. And that's going to give us a slightly tighter turning circle by knocking that down to 10 from 5. It's not going to be that much noticeable, marginally. It's still going to give us an element of control getting into the entrance of the bend. And then this is going to allow us a little bit more slip and a little bit more control over the throttle, and how much wheel spin we actually get is going to be left down to us. You know, the more wheel spin you want, the higher you put this number. If you don't want any wheel spin, then just put this down on 0 and you won't get any wheel spin. You know, the car will be fighting you as it goes through corners and you apply throttle. The torque differential between the inside and outside wheel will be, you know, trying to control the rotational speed, because if you go around a corner, the inside wheel travels a lesser distance than the outside wheel, so therefore always wants to kick the inside wheel into a wheel spin. So because the weight also loads up off of the inside wheel, and it's trying to basically travel faster than the ground, because you're covering a less distance doing the same speed as the outside wheel, which is the one holding the weight. So the differential just limits that difference, and it will modulate how much torque is driven to the right hand wheel, how much power you get to the right hand wheel in a left hand bend, or vice versa. So we're going to try them settings now. So like I say, we've done the alignment, and all we've done now is we've increased the roll bars, we've done the springs to basically counteract the roll bar slightly. Dampening has just been set up for higher speed. Geometry we've just moved up for a bit more reaction, but again we've set it up for control by having the rear lower than the front on the height offset. And then the anti-dive we've just put up to 60, and we're going to bring that down to 20. There you go. Bringing this down will just soften the way you accelerate out of a corner again. It will just limit the amount of sort of wheel spin and grip, because there'll be a bit more of a delay between you getting on the throttle and the full weight of the car bearing on the tyres. But if you want a quick response, then you run this higher. But quick response means quicker wheel spins, easier to wheel spin, easier to lose control. So again, it's all about smoothness. You know, if you need help being smooth, you can just try knocking this number down a little bit, and it will just help you be a bit smoother on the throttle without affecting anything else other than, you know, without changing the diff or anything else. So it'll only change the acceleration point in a sense. So we run it at 20. We shall give this a go. The differential we just turned up for a bit of acceleration, and obviously braking we changed. So let's go. See, we've got a tighter turning circle. I think I could personally probably drop the rear down, maybe on the offset a little bit. See, once you've got the grip there, you can just apply the power then. Nicely over the curbs. Let's see if we can't get a lap in. You can see it just reacts left to right a little bit quicker. There's not so much of a lull in it. Still been a little bit smooth on the throttle, but it's nowhere near pushing me as wide on these bends. Not wider than I want to go anyway. Lucky not to get a penalty then. You're on full lock, full power then, it's just driving around the corner. A little bit of understeer still. Lost a bit of time. That's probably just for having the aero up through that faster section there. So, well, we've got our half second back and a little bit of an improvement. You can see that we lost another 2 tenths just down the straight there. So we've lost a bit of time due to the extra grip, but overall, so, oh, don't want photo mode. So we're definitely driving with more control and it definitely feels better. What we will do now is I'm going to drop that down slightly. I'm going to increase that slightly. And just see. So all we've done there is we've just increased the offset on the front, so again a little bit more response from the front, but we've decreased the back just to again give us more control. But hopefully we should at the same time develop a bit more rotation, especially off the front. See, mid-corner's definitely improved there, look. Little bump off the curb, stayed on. See the extra rotation that time, look. Still slow around that bend, but we're up overall. We're going to be in the 51s. So we're into the 51s. So you can just be a lot more confident with it. Not to say it won't misbehave, they are GT cars, but you can just see, look, how much better it is now through the bend. No brake, just off the throttle, rolling, back on the throttle, off the throttle, rolling, back on the throttle. Ride the curb. Just stayed on. Oh, it's going to be a good time though, look. The track rubber is set on full to start with, so there's no improvement on rubbering in here. I set it on full just so we can start the video and get in on decent lap time straight away. Look, 150.9 there. That's a big improvement. Consistent. Faster. Excuse me. It's the G-forces. Just lost it off that curve a little bit. But you can see that's definitely an improvement. It definitely feels good. I'm half tempted to throw a little bit more of roll bar at it, and maybe a smidge more rear toe, and then we'll see. Again, you just increase the rotation there by softening the front roll bar, but then we just increase the toe on the back to see if we can just benefit from it. Right, let's see if we can beat the time around here. The one corner we haven't been able to beat yet. Oof, no. Probably slightly down on what we were at. We're up. Excuse me. You can see we're consistently on the time still. Again, it probably just turned slightly better, slightly more control. Oh, we missed that one. But that is basically how you would eliminate the oversteer, and just generally, yeah, try and improve your lap time. Now I haven't used that car much at all, so yeah, that's just how I'd out tune the inherent problems with the car. So again, if you want a bit more control over the rear end, you can increase this, but then again, remember that you will also be at the same time reducing your top speed down the faster parts of the track and decreasing rotation. So you might have to try and find the rotation elsewhere by just dropping the roll bar down a little bit more, or just increase the geometry on the front just a little bit more. But yeah, that felt pretty solid, to be fair, pretty easy to drive. Let me know in the comments, let me know what you think, let me know if you use this tune, how you get on with it. I'm going to jump on and I'm going to try and create a couple of videos. We're going to have the Lamborghini one, we're going to have the Corvette one. If you want to chuck a comment on this video really quick and pick some C-Class cars, I'll quickly tune a couple of C-Class cars over the next couple of days for you. I might do some streaming as well tomorrow and try and complete some of the open tour. Maybe see if we can try and win a race and everything. But yeah, that's the tuning guide for today. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. So I'll just try and explain to you in easy terms on basically what creates control and what creates rotation, because it's the easiest way to understand. The last thing you want to be worrying about is going onto this page and looking at, oh, my car weighs. I mean, car weight's fairly important, but like dampening the springs, you're going to be just doing for like whether the tyres can take a harder setting or not. You know, harder settings are generally going to be slightly better. Softer settings are going to be slightly more forgiving. It's not to say one's not necessarily soft is not fast. They generally require different types of driving, and people who are generally a bit more probably gung-ho with brakes and throttle and turning in probably want a more steadier car. People who are smoother and faster and able to control the rotation will want a looser car, but in turn that will be faster. So just keep that in mind. But like I say, not for everybody, because you can get on with a fast tune and you could be losing more time out of the wheel spin and everything else where you're you know, your controls might not be as finite or as smooth, so you could benefit from, yeah, a more understeery setting sort of thing. But again, it's horses for courses with choosing the right car. But if there's anything else you want to learn about tuning, anything else you want to understand, like I will quickly cover it here, because we did talk about, someone did ask me about ride height. So ride height, I've seen people obviously running the car high, and obviously it's a game, so you know, experiment with this. Where am I going? Alignment. Sorry, springs. But yeah, so basically, if you want to ride a high ride height, more air is allowed to wash underneath the car. Less air. So if you think of the air hitting the front of your car has 100% of the air hits the front of the car, it is going to be split into a couple of main factors: those that pass over the car and those that pass under the car. So by increasing the ride height, you will allow more air to travel underneath the car. You'll get more lift at higher speeds. You'll get, you know, there'll be the drag on the car will be different. You'll probably be slightly faster. You'll probably cut the air in a sense more efficiently for speed. But you know, if you've got aerodynamics and wings, then you know, another way to reduce the aerodynamic effect essentially on the wings would be to increase the ride height. So you could still get the stability from having the wings in the same place, but you could increase the ride height, and that would take more air off of the wings and run it underneath the car. So you'd improve speed, but at the same time, with more air washing underneath the car, the air's there for cornering and everything as well, and it's going to cause lifting effects and things like that. So it's always a balance of how high you want to run it, how the car feels, because feel is important. Feel's more important than any of these numbers here on the right hand side. You know, because if you think this car's got, you know, where are we? I was going to show you on this one. Oh yeah, there you go, 42.58 on the front weight. So if you think, if I throw that into a corner at 140 mile an hour, do you think the front right hand side of the car still only weighs, what, 21%? I don't think so. I think the right hand side of the car probably weighs something like 75% now, and that most of the load's probably been thrown on the front tyre under braking and the rear tyre under acceleration. So what you want to do is tune the car to be able to handle the situation rather than the weight of it. You know, put it through its paces and understand what it needs to stop the problem. You know, if your problem, like with this Ferrari, is the oversteer of the rear end, then just crank up this toe to start with. That will control the rear end, and then you can go about applying rotation back to it to get the time back. You saw straight away when we done that, we lost probably half a second on our next lap, but yet, like, once we then put the rotation back in other areas, we were then able to find more time back. So yeah, just like I say, remember that. Try and, like I say, fix the characteristics. But you know, if you've got a good tune and you've got a good bass tune, say, I don't know, you're using the same car quite a lot and you've got this car and it's so sweet, it's the fastest one, when you get in it you beat all your friends all the time, then kind of start with that tune on your next car, especially if they're similar cars: front engine, rear wheel drive, mid engine, rear wheel drive, four wheel drive, or front wheel drive. You know, if you're using a BMW M3, then you're going to get in a front wheel drive Corvette, or sorry, rear wheel drive front engine Corvette, then you want to maybe start with a similar tune to what you've already worked out works, apply it to the car, then work out the negative characteristics of that individual car and try and dial them out. You know, that's just a quick way. You know, if you're jumping into lobbies and you've got a new car and you want to tune it, you know, stick to what you know. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, you know. So yeah, just trying to educate everyone onto, you know, how to make yourself faster. Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you all understand everything and we all learnt something. Let me know in the comments, like I say, how you get on. Please hit the subscribe button and like, and stick around, come back in a couple of days, and hopefully we'll have the Lamborghini one rolling out, we'll have the Corvette one rolling out, and if anyone's suggesting any C-Class cars, we'll try and roll them out over the weekend as well. Just let me know. Hopefully I can get stuck into it. I'm a bit freer this weekend, although I'll still have normal chores to do, walk the dog and everything else. But yeah, I go and see Mother. But thanks for watching. enjoy your weekend's racing. Hopefully I'll see you on the tarmac. And I'm also thinking of setting up this rally event that I've seen. I don't know if you've seen my video of the rally event. If not, go to my page, have a look at the rally, Forza Rally Unleashed. I may add it to the end of this video as a video to look at. And click your name on there, click gamer tag, add me as gamer tag, and we're going to set up an event where we can either, if we get enough people, we'll do it in a couple of, round events like an A and a B, and then we'll have an A and a B final, split up of the winners and losers of the two groups. And then, if we get enough interest, we might even create a prize and make it worth everyone's while. And then I'll put a community post out. We can pick a time that's going to be best to do it. What we'll probably do is probably have a couple of practice events just so people can get up to speed, learn the course, be happy with what they've got tune wise. Basically it's going to be any general rally car, so anything from Ford Escort RS, Cosworth, Ford Focuses, even Mitsubishi Lancers, Subaru Imprezas, Lancia Delta, Toyota Celica, any rally heritage car in its rally colours. We're going to want them in their rally colours for the video, and then we can record a race and put some highlights on. So if you want to get involved in the rally race and you want to check out the track that we've made on Forza Motorsport, not Horizon, on here, then go to my page, check out the video and leave your name and gamer tag, and then I'll set up a community post and we shall get everyone involved who wants to be involved. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Take care, and probably see you on the tarmac over the weekend. Look out for me, be at the top. See you soon.